Hello, everybody, and welcome back to an amazingly fun episode of CLX Foundry Live. I'm your host, DJ Blue PDX, and of course, joining me live from our studios in Wichita, Kansas, is none other than Paul Steffens, our lead technical expert, and today's master builder. It is Zach Killingsworth. Gentlemen, first of all, I've got some people behind me who have questions about why it's so awesome, and they're going to come up and say hello in just a second. But my question is, have we ever had this many new things that we've never played with in one build? I don't think we have.
This is all that new stuff.
Mm-hmm. It's all the new stuff.
It's like Christmas is here early.
Mm-hmm. Right? Exactly. So we've got a great show with some new products, and you're going to love it. I have questions, and I'm sure you will too. So, gentlemen, let's start off with what we're going to be putting inside of this beautiful NV5.
All right, so in this HORUS build today in our NV5 White, starting out with our processor, we've got the brand new Intel Core Ultra 9 285K. To cool that, we've got our CLX Quench 360 AIO in white with RGB. And for our motherboard, another new part is our Asus ROG Strix Z890-A gaming Wi-Fi. And we'll have 2 sticks of RAM in there. We've got 2 sticks of 16 gigabyte DDR5 6000 speed from XPG, also in white with the RGB heat spreaders. For our storage drive, we've got a single ADATA 2 terabyte 800 gold NVMe M.2 drive. For our video card, another new part, we've got the Asus ROG Strix RTX 4080 Super in white.
Super-de-duper.
Now that thing looks awesome. And for our case fans, we've got 8 of our GameDS Aeolus M2 fans, also in white, and our power supply is an MSI Mag A850, so 850 watt, 80 plus gold, fully modular in white as well.
Nice. That sounds incredible. So, as you can see, these guys are such a fan behind me. They are so excited to see this. They're just literally crawling up the walls. So, with that said, if you hear a term or see something that you have questions on, because trust me, today is going to be that day where we're going to get questions because we got some really cool, awesome tech to go through. But, yeah, if you hear something, let us know. That's our job. That's what we do here is answer your questions and make sure you feel better about building your own stuff. We prefer to build it for you. Biggest Intel box I've ever seen, right? Right? God for TV.
It is a big box. There's some cool stuff in there.
Okay, I hope, yes, let's go through that, because I agree. I looked at that and thought, how much packaging do you need for the processor? Except for their packaging is always awesome. I love the Petri dishes, the discs, the actual wafer discs they used to send them in. Those were fun. I have like 3 of them upstairs. Okay. By the way, everybody over on, thank you for the follow over on the TikTok side. Temperance, Kirschlong, how are y'all? Over on the purples. In the blue side, well, Constance, well, you work here. My friends on YouTube and Facebook as well. Michael Doherty, hello. See, look, I pronounced your name correctly this time. Hashim. We got Joe over on the green side. Hey, Joe, 425. What's going on? Aaron joined the chat on the TikToks. Now, here's the thing. So, first of all, y'all know that I am a huge ROG Strix fan, personally. But this board is wild. It's absolutely wild. Now, this is a different chipset. This is what is it, an 890?
Z890, yes.
So what does that mean, Paul?
So like, really,
whoa! There's a reason why they don't have a button! Dudes, look at it, it's spring-loaded! So that like when it's spring-loaded open, oh my god, this is so cool! It's spring-loaded open! So like when you stick your card in, then it just locks itself.
What?
What?
That's okay. To be fair, now I get why there's no button. That's actually genius. Talk about just making it easier.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. Zion the Lion 05. What up? Hello. How are you? Let's see here. So let's talk about this motherboard because this is a little bit different than what we've had before, and it is a first time for us showcasing this board. Paul, let's talk about. Oh my God! Look at the back of that thing. That's gorgeous. I'm going to run through that I/O panel, and then Paul, I want you to talk about some of the new features that are coming out with these new boards, which is fantastic. So on the back panel, we've obviously got our HDMI and our display port, which are in an unusual, like I've never seen them in an L shape before. You always see them parallel, right? Mm-hmm. So we're going to have 6 USB 10 gig ports. There's 5 Type A's, 1 Type C, and that's got a 30 watt power fast charge thing on it. 2 USB 5 gigs, they're Type A's. You've got obviously your Wi-Fi, which by the way, this says Wi-Fi 7 and Bluetooth 5.4. You've also got your LAN port, and then you've got your 2 Thunderbolt ports, and that is Type C as well, plus obviously your clear CMOS buttons and your BIOS flashback button, along with your optical. There we go. That's the word I was looking for. Yay. All right. So, Paul, this is a whole new generation of board. What does that mean?
So this is the new LGA 1851 socket to fit the brand new Intel processors. So right off the bat, there's just a few things that stand out to me. Obviously, the white PCB looks great. I love the aesthetic. This M.2 heat shield, I'm excited to get that off. That looks pretty new. Like you mentioned, it does have Wi-Fi 7, which is new, and those antenna connectors are a little different as well. So we'll be excited to get this thing in the lab.
God for TV, by the way, has a good question over on the purple side. This is 1 gig LAN port? No, 2.5 gig. 2.5. Go with that, 2.15.
Whoa.
All right. Now, wait. Are you serious? Is it just literally a latch and pop? Shut up.
Ooh, that's pretty nice.
That's actually awesome. Let's take a look at that heatsink while we've got a chance. Look at that.
That is slick.
That is gorgeous. You know you're a nerd when you find beauty in technology.
Look at that mounting bracket for that.
I know, that thing is cool. I'm like, whatever. Like,
it's so simple.
This is
So you
like
can,
a
like,
locking
move it?
thing. Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
Adjust it to the sizes.
It's our first look at this board too, so we're pretty impressed as well.
What are you noticing with that? As far as, because you mentioned there's a couple different things that are different than what we've seen before. So what are they?
The M.2 thing is what's standing out to me the most right now. Obviously, it's a beautiful looking board, but yeah, it's just a little latch to lock that in, and then it's got kind of a little different mechanisms under that heatsink. So we'll figure that out as we go.
So previously, as you've seen with other boards, we've definitely noticed a different way of accessing. You've got your screws. Some of them have just the clips. But this seems extremely, like, user-friendly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does.
That's impressive. Now, let's unbox the big boy in the house. This is our first look at the brand new Intel Core Ultra 9 285K.
All right, I did snag a peek a little bit because I couldn't resist before the show. But look at all this. This is great. We've got all this. Oh, we've got Ultra 9 and an Ultra 5.
Oh, man.
There is Ultra 7 as well, if y'all are interested. So we'll go ahead. We're going to do the build with the Ultra 9, and we'll keep that other one in there.
So when you order one, this is how it comes. You get your choice.
Yeah.
So here's a question. So obviously Ultra 285K, we've got some different terminologies on the core. What do you know about this processor? I know it's just barely came out, but what kind of things can you tell us about it?
Yeah, so brand new processor here from Intel. Now they did change their naming scheme on this. So this is an Ultra 9 285K, which I believe right now is the highest end one that's out. This is a 24-core, 24-thread processor with 8 performance cores, 16 efficiency cores, a base speed of 3.7, and it will boost all the way up to 5.7.
Good Lord. That's incredible. Now, just in case people have forgotten what they are, because we haven't talked about this in a little bit, what are P cores and E cores?
Okay, so P cores are performance cores. So those are typically used when you're gaming or doing something that the processor needs those extra cores. And the E cores, that's efficiency cores. So those are mostly used, when you're just browsing around your PC. They help with the power efficiency. So it will activate those performance cores when needed.
Got it. All right. As you can see, that little bracket that's underneath the motherboard that Zach just showed us. By the way, we've got a compliment about your hair, Zach. Nady Realmente says, hello, sexy long-haired PC builder. The background, yes, fantastic. Oh, mine or theirs? Doesn't matter. So let's go with what's going on. We've got a bracket, obviously, in the back. This is going to be for our way of cooling it. So what are we going to be using? Is this the same bracketing that has been on previous boards, or do they have to update that as well?
So what we're using on this with our CLX quench cooler here is the same bracket for our back plate. Now that is something that we weren't sure. So it's obviously fits in there and gets it, is secured in it, lines up with the holes. That's not to say that every 1700 bracket is going to work on the new motherboards. It'll just depend on which cooler you have. But we should be able to get this thing. I mean, obviously it's in there, but once we run tests on it after it's built, then we'll know, make sure that it's getting good pressure from the AIO to cool it efficiently.
Gotcha. One thing, Until Valhalla over on the TikTok side says, I wish you guys were streaming my build. I want to see it so bad. Oh my goodness. I hear you on that one. Now, when it comes to cooling, obviously we've got our AIOs, which stands for
all-in-one. So this thing comes out of the box with coolant in it. Typically, most AIOs are going to come with 3, 4, maybe even 5 different sets of hardware to match all the motherboard sockets. So when you're getting AIO, regardless of what brand it is, you want to make sure you grab the right hardware that matches your motherboard socket, and then from there, it's pretty straightforward. This one has a back plate that you put on that the posts screw into. They're all a little different, but pretty much the same rules apply when you're installing them.
And what are those rules? Just so we're clear.
So you want to make sure that, like on these boards, you need to have the back plate so that your post can go in. You'll have your mounting bracket that goes actually on your pump on this, like Zach just screwed down. And then typically there's a couple connectors coming off of the AIO. One is to power the pump, and the other, if your AIO is RGB like this one, there'll be an RGB cable as well. So Zach's routing that cable for our pump through there, and now he's got our RGB cable going through.
And just to be clear, this is a CLX Quench 360 ARGB AIO in white. This has room for 3 120 millimeter fans, if I'm not mistaken.
That is right. Yep. We do offer these in black as well, if you prefer that aesthetic.
Godford TV has a great question. Cosworth. Yes, this is the new Strix board. Godford TV says, but you also need to upgrade the PC case for the AIO.
Depends on what current case you have. Yeah. So there's different AIOs.
They have an older case, yeah.
An older case? Okay, yes. You might have to upgrade your case. Now, there's a bunch of different AIOs. The most common ones are 120, 240, and 360 like this. And what we're talking about with that is the size of the radiator here. So you can see we've got holes to mount screws to the radiator. So 120 would just be from my hand up. 240 would be there, and then 360s like this. Now there is a 140, 280, 420 option that you can go with. Those are a little bit less common though.
Yeah, this board is absolutely gorgeous. I know Zion the Lion over on the green side has been very absolutely loves it. It is definitely bad.
Sorry.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, so I'm just gonna bleep it out anyways. Now Zach, I did see you routing those cables in a specific direction. Why? How does that help?
So when looking at a really nice motherboard, you'd rather look at the motherboard than like looking at like some hideous cables laying just strewn across it like a madman. Mm-hmm. So if we can just subtly route our cables underneath our posts, we're not pulling it tight to where it gets onto our processor. We can do a little bit of damage, maybe melt some cables if we got a little bit of heat going on there. So just kind of softly hide them underneath. That's where, like, from a top down, you don't really see anything at all. But like Paul was saying, this gets plugged into a fan header, and because we have RGB, we will plug it in to an RGB header. So with this being a new board, most RGB headers, there might be like 1 or 2 at the top, but this one does not have it. All of my headers, it looks like, are on the base. We've got 3 of them down here, so that's quite a lot of headers, but they're just in a different location than normal. Like, we usually do have a header down here, but we also usually have one up in the top corner here. So kind of just having to navigate all to that won't be a biggie.
Real quick, Hoppin' Bob over on the YouTube side. Good evening. Hello, welcome in. Now, I want to point something out that I'm noticing, because we've talked about this before on previous boards, how it's often that you've got 3 or 4 PCIEs, usually 3, but the one in second position never gets used because it's always being covered by the graphics card. So noticeably on this board, there are only 2 PCIe slots. Am I right in seeing that?
Mm-hmm. Yep, and I believe the reason for that is, those other slots, like you said, really don't get used that often.
Yeah.
And having these two full 16 slots, obviously we're going to have our video card on the top, and then we could put a capture card, sound card, whatever you wanted to in the bottom. You don't need a Wi-Fi card on this because it already comes on board, so that saves you a slot there as well.
Sweet.
I was just looking, like, my graphics card comes right down to the second PCIe. Like, so long as that PCIe is narrow and bulky down, then bulky down. You know what? Let's do something that I actually know the words for. And that's going to be our 216 gig A data DDR5 6000 memory sticks. So it's going to be a total of 32 gigs for these. And it's the fastest, I believe, so far, the fastest RAM that we carry. Obviously, we're going to be putting those into slots 2 and 4. And for those who have never built one, why do we do 2 and 4?
So 2 and 4 is just what our motherboard would like if there's 2 sticks of memory on there. So that's why we do it. Pretty much all motherboards with 4 slots, if you have 2 sticks of memory, you're going to be using slots 2 and 4. But you can always look at your motherboard manual, either online or the paper manual that comes with it to tell you where to put those sticks of RAM.
That's how you lock the NVMe down, Paul.
That's pretty
No
cool.
way.
That's how you lock
Wait.
the
Little
NVMe
slider.
in place. What the
Nice.
Is there a
heck?
little tiny piece of plastic underneath there?
Yeah, so like you see how it's kind of...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant. Oh, and then you can pull the plastic off. Look at that.
Yeah, that's pretty neat.
Once again, Rog. Roboga Gamers, you're killing it right now. This is grand. There we
Pretty
go.
nice.
Nicely done. And of course, that is a 2 terabyte AData Legend hard drive, an SSD. So look at that. There's the pop. It's kind of like a kickflip for hard drives. If there's anybody in here who has never heard of an NVMe versus an SSD or an HDD, Paul, what are the difference between these 3 different names?
So you've got SSDs and HDDs to start out with. So SSDs mean solid state drive, so there's no moving parts like a traditional mechanical hard disk drive. Now this is NVMe, which refers to the transfer protocol, so it's going to be very, very fast. There's a few different generations of NVMe. I believe we're at 5 now is the most current. There'll be 6, there'll be 7, and so on, as time goes on. But
Can I do a little exploring?
yeah.
Okay, cool.
On the purple side, Chill Phil is back. What's going on, man? Good to see you. Nady Realmente says, looks beautiful. Wish we all had that. This is very educational also. Thank you so much, and you're very welcome. And that's what we're here for. Because oftentimes, if you've never had an opportunity to build your own PC and you want to try it, it's a great idea to to get some information. Otherwise, you'll end up like me, spending 6 hours doing something that should have taken an hour. Zombies in the background, but that RAM is crazy. Yes, it's kind of weird to think about which one is better or which one is worse. Cool. All right. Now, when you're taking these off, if you're not putting an M.2 in there, do you need to take that plastic off the back of the heat shield?
No, we leave that on there. That way, if the customer ever upgrades, those thermal pads are still protected and will be brand new when you go to take that plastic off. Those thermal pads are kind of sticky. Makes sense. So, we want to leave that plastic on unless we're using that slot.
I was just wanting to see what was all under there.
What was under it? Wait, first of all, the board is very, very clean. I'm also excited because we know that there's going to be something graphic-based, or at least something lit up in that black upper square on the left-hand, well, sort of a parallelogram on the upper left-hand side. And they are always on top of it when it comes to the different things that they do with their boards.
Okay.
I'm digging it. I'm digging it.
Yes.
Good to see you too. Love watching PC builds. It is cathartic. It definitely is relaxing. If that makes any sense. Kashim says, does this have the magnetic type click-on system for the M.2? Good question.
So this doesn't have the magnetic type, but it has that new slider locker. I really like that.
Levon Marticane.
Levon.
Over on the Facebook side. Welcome. Glad to see you.
We know Levon. We know
Levon.
There we go. Love it. Thank you guys, by the way, for the follows across all the platforms today. If you want to watch us, we are on TikTok, the Twitch, the Kicks, the YouTubes, and the Facebooks. And if I just put the in front of it, I sound, well, old. There we go. Temperance mentions, I have experience and still put the GPU in and out like more than 2 times with the new PC. Yeah. When I put originally when I built my first streaming PC, I had a 10, I think it was 1060. And again, cable management was the bane of my existence because every time I turned around, like I went, oh, I've got to route something else underneath here. Well, I've got to put this, where does this, how do I put this cord in? Where does it go? When Hayden saw the picture of it, he was just like, that stresses me out so much right now. It was questionable at best. Curse Long, maybe it'll be an LED capybara. Okay, let's be fair. Capybaras are adorable. they're with a face that only a mother could love. I wouldn't say old, but you beat me to it. There you go. Listen, Zion Line. I'll own that. Temperance mentions, I was so excited to put it in, realized I forgot to install the NVMEs from my old PC with my games on them. So did that, put it in, had a bracket wrong, took it out, took it back in with it right, and I forgot to install the SATA cables. See? Bingo. I'm so glad I'm not the only one who does that. Disco Ninjas in the house. Welcome in, everybody. All right, now let's take a look at this case. This is an NV5. This is a beautiful case, and we're going to be getting this layered down right down on those standoffs. And why is it important that we ensure that these are on standoffs?
So we want our motherboard on those standoffs, that it's not making direct contact with the metal chassis. That could cause shorting out on your motherboard, which could be a minor issue, or it could fry the whole thing. So you definitely want to make sure you've got those standoffs in. Most cases come with the standoffs installed, but you still want to verify that they're in the right location and that you don't have any extras in there that you don't need.
Nady Relamente asks a good question. Any advice for people who want to get into selling/assembling PCs as a job? Good question.
Well, the first thing would be, get really comfortable building PCs and testing them and stuff. If you're going to do it on your own, you want to make sure that you're really comfortable with all the new latest stuff. There's always some new changes as stuff comes out, but you probably want to be able to support your customer as well after the sale's made.
We had a great question/comment. Chill Phil mentions, when is CLX dropping the Oracle hoodies? Dude, that would be wicked. I don't think there's even a plan for that, but that could be hilarious. There's a Microsoft assembling PC, CompTIA.
Okay, yeah,
I'm gonna be honest,
usually the crediting place that does it. Like when you get your A+ cert, it's a CompTIA cert.
Oh, there we go. There we go. I saw Linus repair broken parts from eBay in a video. Oh.
There you go.
What's up, Expectation Matt? Hello. That's always unfortunate when you get broken parts. I have a general rule of thumb. I don't buy anything off of eBay. It's just me. I just don't. I have trust issues. So now, this case is really cool because it qualifies as one of our 2/3 or 2/3 or 3/4 cases, and you can see with where the white grommets are that the motherboard doesn't sit directly on the back. Paul, why is that?
So we've got a little bit of space. You can see the bottom of the motherboard over there. We've got a little bit of space here. And why that is there is for us to put extra stuff in the back of the case. So with this case, we've got extra room for storage behind the motherboard, whether it be 2.5-inch or 3.5-inch drives. And then it's also got a good channel in the back near the middle of the case for cable management.
I noticed that, just jumping back up real fast to Temperance's statement, I did not take it out for the SATA cables. I figured it out with it still in. Oh, yeah, no. I got all my hardware in and then realized I have to plug in cables. So I had to take everything back out to figure out where I was going to put stuff. It took hours. Hours. Oh, my gosh. All right, so we've obviously got our radiator up on top, as you can see right there. When it comes to lining it up, you just want to have it centered, correct?
Yeah, we'd like to have it centered on there. Some cases you'll have a little bit more wiggle room. You can see where Zach's getting the screws in up there, that we've got kind of a lot of room to work with here. Now that's cut out so that you could put a 120, 240, or a 360 up top. But you know, if you've got the 360 in there and you're taking up the full bay, we'd like to have it centered. I think it just looks nice.
Nice. There we go. We've already got the fans attached, and those are going to be on the bottom. So when it comes to how this, you know, we're making the pump work, how do these fans help cool down that radiator?
So these fans that are mounted right here, they're going to be, air's going to be coming in from the side that you're seeing and pushing it through the radiator and out the top of the chassis, which is the ideal way to set up your AIO. Now, some cases are designed a little differently to where you have to have your radiator or your fans on the other side where they're pulling air through. That's fine as well. It's going to function properly and everything. You just get a little bit better airflow when you're pushing air through. So, you know, I always prefer to go that way, but it's not like the other way is wrong or anything like that. And then if you've got room in your budget and in your case, you can put fans on both sides of the radiator and set it up in a push-pull method.
And that is a beautiful vacuum of air. Like, it's wild. There are pros and cons to do both. Yeah. So so Godford TV, when they built mine, we luckily the 011, what is that, an XL?
I believe you have an XL, yeah.
Yeah, it's an XL. Has space for the extra 3 fans. So I have a push pull that's mounted in the back, and I've mentioned this a couple times. It creates such a force of suction. I have to pin my green screen to the wall. Otherwise, it just sucks it right up against the back of the PC. I'm like, good Lord, what is happening? All right, now you can see right here, which is great, a good example. 2 things to notice about the NV series that are really, really cool, and that is the way that the bottom is angled. You notice that the bottom is angled ever so slightly, so you've got a little bit of a differentiation in where the air is pushed. Now with this, we've also got a good chance to see all of the space that Zach is going to have in the back for his cable management. Plus, there's a giant gap down below. Paul, what's that for?
That's for our power supply. So our power supply is going to go in the bottom of this case. That big hole that you see in the bottom is where the back of our power supply is going to go, where the cord goes into the wall. And then there's a lot of room in front of there for some cable management as well. Like if you have a non-modular power supply, you can bundle and tuck your cables in front of that.
Temperance has a really, really great question. It says, when you do a push-pull, does it drastically improve the thermals?
That is a good question. So I wouldn't quite say it's a drastic improvement on your thermals, but it definitely is noticeable for sure. It'll depend on the fans you use and what you're doing with the PC, but there definitely is a difference by doing it that way. Something to note, if you are going to set your system up in a push-pull, you want to use the same fans on the front and back of the radiator, because if you have a faster fan on one side and a slower fan on another, it can over time cause damage to those fans.
MLP1 over on the TikTok side, hi, what's going on? Asks a great question. Is a pure AMD Radeon RX 7800 XT good?
That's a solid video card for sure.
Absolutely. Godford TV. Oh no, let's go to Kirschlong. Hello. By the Kirschlong just keeps staring at the RAM every time we show it. He's like, oh, it's so mystifying. It's so gorgeous. It says you guys should have a new segment when Zach is tying cables up where Paul learns to juggle chainsaws or something. I feel like there may be a liability issue there. OSHA is not going to be happy if that happens. Speaking of PSUs, what's this using? We're going to get to that in just a few minutes. But we can pull it out, I guess.
Yeah, we could get it out now. Yeah. Someone wants to see.
So we have an 850 watt MSI mag. It is an A850GL PCIe 80 plus gold. Paul, what are some cool features about this power supply unit?
So probably my favorite thing about this power supply is that it does come in white. So if you're doing a white build like this, you can have your power supply match your case. We do offer these in black as well. But overall, it's a pretty good looking power supply. It's fully modular, 80 plus gold, 850 watts. So we'll go ahead and get this out a little bit. But what fully modular means is that none of the cables are pre-installed into the power supply. So when you open the box, it's going to look like this. We've got our power supply brick, and then we've got our cables right here. So I'm going to get these out and show you those.
And we had a question about the Ryzen 9800X 3D and wondering about a release date or if it's come out yet. And I do. I mean, I Google it and I can say what it says at least on the website, but that's all. That's the only way I know how to do it. Gosh, that's a gorgeous power supply.
I like it. It does look good.
So, according to the interwebs, it's supposed to be November 7th of this year. And again, it is also really important that when you do get your parts, if you're going to build this on your own, to make sure you pull up all the plastic pieces, the little plastic covers, they're on everything that's branded. And because otherwise you're going to get a really funky smell from the components when they get hot. Let's see here. MLP1 asks, is it bad to use Intel CPUs and and an AMD graphics card?
No, they should work fine together.
Yeah. Yeah. Rob Barker. Hello. I see what you did there, Rob Barker. That's great. Rob mentions, just finished my build today. Wish I'd found this channel sooner. I'm so sorry, but I'm glad you're here. If you have any questions about things in your build or otherwise, you're more than welcome to ask. Once again, if you hear things on this show that you're just not familiar with, or if you've got questions about maybe your build or your PC, ask away. That's what the experts are for. I'm just the mouth. Zion DeLion mentions, how important is it to wear gloves when making a custom build? Pros versus cons.
So the gloves are not required, but I find when I'm building, if I'm wearing gloves like Zach is, it's a lot easier to grip things. The only issues that I run into is when I'm tying up. Sometimes the glove will get caught in a zip tie, and I'm like, oh, man.
Okay. Whoops, there we go. Now, obviously, we've got our single fan here that's going to be going up. That is going to blow up and add air going into the system, which is fantastic. Phil, let me get you an answer for that. Chill, Phil. Yes, welcome everybody. That's what I thought. Okay. Fight S, welcome back. What's going on? Yeah, I thought we carried the 7800X 3D. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to verify. Okay. Now, one of the cool things, as you can see, is that where the power supply is going to be put is going to be underneath that ramped housing. So it kind of looks almost like, like a jump if you were skateboarding or something. And now, I have a question that I don't think I've actually ever asked before. Is that single fan on the bottom, is that angled or straight up?
So right now it is straight up, but you can adjust it to have it angled if you wanted to.
Got it. So what would be the advantage of making it angled?
I think as far as airflow goes, I don't think there's going to be that big of a difference, whether it's angled or you have it straight on. I think the thing that it's more there for is probably an overall aesthetic if you like having it at that angle or...
Yeah. I know on the NV9 it makes a difference just because it blows that air up against the tempered glass front. And
with this, since it's just one intake fan on the bottom, our main intake is right here. These fans that Zach's installing next.
Yes. Now, is it more advantageous to install them all the way at the top, in the mid? Like, how do you decide and determine that? Or do you want to gap them, or...?
As long as they can breathe so they're not being blocked by anything, you could pretty much put them wherever you want. Now, once again, we kind of like to center them, but sometimes they need to be a little bit lower because maybe you've got a thicker radiator or a different AIO that takes up more space. So we want to make sure that they're not bumping into that.
Over on the TikTok side, Blake Foreverin says, all white build, man. It's beautiful. What's the GPU? Well, we're going to get to that in just a few, but I guess I can give you all a hint to it. Our GPU is going to be an Asus ROG Strix GeForce RTX 4080 Super in white. Yes. Nope.
Yep.
Yes. Correct. I was like looking at it because also it was the S, and I thought, well, maybe there's a new model. Okay, there we go. So yes, and it's going to be gorgeous once we pull that out. Rob Barker says, had a nightmare with AIO cooler. It's all It's all IQ, but when the TAC was in the AIO header on the B650E, it would throw up a BIOS error. It's now in the CPU fan header. No error, but not sure if I've done the right thing. Ooh.
So as long as you've got it plugged into the CPU header, it should be functioning properly. Now those IQs, there's a lot of cables that comes with those. So they can be a little bit difficult to install and get all your RGB and the screen working on them. But as the most important thing is to have that fan header plugged into your board so that the pump is actually spinning. Then the rest is pretty much aesthetics after that.
Fides over on the green side has an interesting piece of information. Says I'm happy all as well. As for airflow, CFM is the big deal. You can have a high RPM fan, but low CFM. I use a Noctua Redo or Redux in my case. What does that mean? What's a CFM?
So I believe CFM is the measurement of the fan movement, what, cubic feet something maybe? I could be totally wrong on there.
There's an
everything.
There's an RGB cable.
Absolutely, Rob.
Yeah, that Noctua always puts out great stuff.
Real quick, over on the YouTube side of things. Hello, Michael. How's it going? Are you guys giving it away? Actually, no, this is going to be for testing. It's our very first time building with this processor and with this motherboard. So we're kind of, we're just going to go and test it out. Trust me, these guys back here are already trying to grab it. So cubic cubic feet per minute. Yep, absolutely correct.
So that's why I thought one was in there.
Hey there, Dark Knight. Who's Batman?
3-pin? No, it's bigger than 3-pin. An LED header.
It's fine.
I wish
I was just gonna
yes.
plug in. I'll have multiple plugs to the head or to the board instead of.
I wish this PC was coming home with me, Temperance. That would be awesome.
I'll test it for a little bit.
Yeah.
I volunteer as tribute.
Zion Alliance says, so
Per
computers
minute,
now
that's
have radiators. Yes, they have radiators. Dark Knight's like, me. I'm Batman. It's what I do for a living. I'm a voice behind a microphone. There we go. Now, here's the thing. As you notice, there's already some bundling that's been happening in the cable management here. And Zach, if you could walk me through what that first cable bundle section is and why it's separate.
This is our case cables. I like to kind of separate everything out. It makes it a lot easier. There are 3 different groups of cables that are in a computer. You will have your case cables. Those comprise of your power button, your reset button, your USB headers, and your HD audio. Another layer of cables is what I'm working on now, and they are your fan cables. I like having them a little bit easier access because if you have a troubleshooting issue, it makes it a lot easier. If it's separated, then all blobbed into one, and then you have to undo your whole tie-up. And then the final one will be our power cables, and those are going to be from the power supply. So all 3 cables have to kind of get put into a system for it to work properly. So if you kind of spend a little time playing with it, it makes it a lot easier in the long run.
Twice I have censored myself and didn't say something that I thought would have been funny, but would have definitely been not appropriate. I want props for that. Let's see here. We've got Zion Alliance says, so computers now have radiators, and that's true. Great for cooling. Is it because it's so much heat involved that a radiator is involved versus the traditional fan cooling sources?
It can be, yep. Depending on the CPU, some of the higher end CPUs get hot enough that you definitely want to have a radiator on them. But there are some air cooler options for those high end ones as well. Really, it's just the cooling that a radiator and an AIO can do is just so good that that's why you see them in a lot of builds. They were a little harder to install back in the day when they first started coming out, but nowadays they've really got it down. So pretty easy to install.
Wait, you got kicked on kick? Ironic.
Kick it.
Let's see here. How many cubic feet of air it moves for? Yes. Okay, there we go. Now, when we were at DreamHack like last year or the year before, we had the opportunity of taking a look at a whole bunch of new, or a whole bunch of PCs that everybody brought, right? I saw some air coolers that I've never even thought of before, and they're wild. Each of them are different. Each one is unique. Dark Knight, yes, this is an X890 board. It is a ROG Strix Z890. A gaming Wi-Fi ATX. It's a gorgeous board. Lots of connectivity there. Lots of it. I will say, I've always said, you know, hey, that USB-C 3.2 Gen 2 2x2 is 10 gigs up, 10 gigs down, good for connecting your hubs. Well, I have a USB-C hub, and I had it plugged into the regular USB-C, and so I plugged it into the 2x2, and oh my gosh, everything's just better.
Okay. So I'm gonna do this guy to
all right.
base, then, and then we'll do this to the motherboard.
Rob Barker says, last question. A, I doubt that. B, we love questions. It says, I've gone for the Ryzen 9 7900X 3D, and I'm torn between going 4080 Super or Sapphire 7900 XTX. Any thoughts? That's a good question.
Those are both really good high-end cards. I believe we did the Sapphire 7900 XTX last week. Yeah, maybe last show even. But if it was me, I would go with the 4080 Super. That's not to say the 7900 XTX is a bad choice. I've just been running NVIDIA for a long time, so that's the only reason I would go with it.
So Joshua over on TikTok has a great question. Why not use the Velcro ties? And so what Josh is referring to is on certain cases, especially some Fantex cases, they come with these built-in Velcro ties. As you can see, why don't you point those out real fast? The Velcro ties. So you can see right there, he's definitely using them, but he's also getting that bundled up first and then using that to kind of collect, I'm assuming, just to kind of hold everything together. Yeah,
we take a lot of pride in our cable management. By no means, if you're building this at home, do you have to do it like we do. So that's why we do it this way. You could definitely build this system with no zip ties and just use those Velcro tie downs, and your system would function fine. We just think it looks better to use the zip ties.
Nadine asks, XFX RX 6650 XT is a good card for 1080p?
Yeah, it's not about. That's a good card to get started with if you're doing 1080p gaming.
Yeah. Easy peasy. Zion DeLion says, personal recommendation, Intel or Ryzen, which do you think would be perfect for gaming? And I'm going to answer my way and let everybody else. I personally game on Intel, and I use AMD for production. It is in my opinion, it's a personal choice. Paul, how would you rate?
All right, so this is the age-old question here. I personally game on Intel. Ryzen's come a long way, and both I think are fine right now. But for me, I go Intel.
With my personal professional opinion, I recommend whatever you can game on.
There you go.
It doesn't really matter as long as you're having fun, right?
Yeah, that I agree with. Over here we've got Link to the Past. Oh my gosh, I like that. That's a good name.
But wait, I take that back. You're on a PC, so you're already better than Xbox and PlayStations.
True.
Wow.
Let's unite.
Yeah,
Flame
let's
on.
put some fuel on that
God.
fire. Yeah. You're already the master race. You've won.
Link to the Past says, I have a 3050 with only a Thermaltake 500 watt power supply. Should I get a better power supply if I want more performance?
So getting a new power supply isn't going to up the performance in your current system as long as that 500 watt is supplying enough power to everything and you're gaming and not having issues as far as power goes. That being said, with the 500 watt, sorry Zach,
you're good.
With the 500 watt, with that 3050, if you do go to upgrade your video card, you are most likely going to need a new power supply that can put out more wattage for that higher end video card. So it's probably fine right now, but when you upgrade, that's probably when you want to look at a new power supply.
Joshua has said, great, had to go with the 011 Compact for the double chamber since my cable management is bad.
That's fair.
Yeah, but again, just hang out a couple streams and watch Zach. Education level, I've learned so much. Let's see here. Andrew Wagner says, any advice on switch from controller to keys?
Nice.
I could definitely answer that one. So
Practice.
I made the decision to, once I finally learned to play a little bit on keyboard and mouse for Rainbow Six Siege, I discovered that I liked it better. But, you know, I'd spent over a decade doing everything from Mixer to working at Xbox and Microsoft, always using controller. That was my go-to. So I went and talked with a friend of Bungie. They sent me the PC copy of the beginning of Destiny 2. So I knew all the mechanics for Destiny 2, so I knew how to do what I wanted to do. So then I had to retrain my muscle memory so that I could, and so I played the game that I already knew how to beat it, but played it and had to learn quickly how to adapt to that, and that's how I did it. Some people process that differently than others. Some people are really good with controller and not so great with keyboard and mouse. Other people think it's that linear thinking pattern, and it just whatever works best for you, nail it.
Yeah, I try to play like most FPSs on mouse and keyboard because there is a if you're equal skilled of mouse and controller, then you're gonna beat the controller every time by playing on mouse and keyboard. That being said, it's kind of whatever you want to do. Like with Destiny, I always play Destiny on a controller just because I thought it felt better.
ADS baby.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. I'm building a PC. So over on the green side, Warhand says, I'm building a PC for my wife tomorrow. Fun watching you all. Oh, that's awesome. Congratulations.
Very nice. Very nice.
Vitez mentions the build into always. There we go. Yeah, that's a good answer there. Easy Tunes in the house. There was an interesting way to say keyboard and mouse over controller. Easy Tune V. What's up? Hello.
He only plays on DDR controllers, on DDR dance pads. Easy Tunes does. Just putting that out there. He only plays on DDR dance pads.
Some people use
Andrew
that Guitar
mentions
Hero controller too. Yeah.
I'm really struck. Yeah. So I would say go with a campaign, Andrew. Go find a campaign that you already know how to play well on controller, and then start playing it with keyboard and mouse. So that you know what you're supposed to do. You know the mechanics of it. You just need to retrain how you are putting that information
memory, right?
out. It's just muscle
like
memory.
Getting used to that.
Just play Skyrim.
And I'll be honest, I love keyboard and mouse. I will never go back. There are some games, I will say, there's some games they were just built for controller, and then in some cases, I will be honest, I've used controller again because it just was overwhelmingly with KeyBM.
One of our inventory supervisors here, he's big into retail WoW, and he started using like that claw thing. Have you guys seen that? Where you put your hand in, it's got all these buttons, and then they've got like 3D printed attachments so that they're all buttons obviously that push down, but then you can like push up with your finger to trigger something else. And he said he spent like a whole weekend like macroing them all and getting it down. I'm like, that's wild.
Oh my gosh. Josh mentioned I learned to use KBM. Well, first of all, Josh mentioned that suggest practice on those typing speed / accuracy websites to familiar yourself with the keyboard. Excellent. Yeah, that's a great idea. And then Josh says, I learned to use keyboard and mouse with Dying Light 2 since it has a lot of macros. You have no idea how much I love and live in Dying Light and Dying Light 2. Oh my gosh. Absolutely fantastic. Good people right there on TikTok. Let's go. Over on the green side, fighting games need a controller, I think.
Fighting games have that controller versus fight pad, fight stick, thing going on where the fight stick's probably better, but I could never get it down. I always play with controller.
I'm going to jump back over to the YouTube. I'm going to jump over to the YouTube side because I've missed a couple things here. So, Dark Knight, hello, says CPU, RAM, GPU will give you more performance compared to other parts. Oh, that's what we're talking about. Link. Okay, yeah. With links. Asking for their current build? Good question. So it said, look, Skills to the Max says currently running a 13900K paired with a 4080, but looking to upgrade to the 5090 once they release. Do I need to upgrade my processor? That's a great question.
Too tight.
I don't think you need to upgrade your processor. really, if you're playing at really high resolutions and you're noticing a dip in your FPS, then that's when I would look at it, but I would think you're good.
Marshmallow over here defending the controller crew. And just so we're clear, my little
Whoa. Is that a sidekick?
No, right, you'd think so. It does look like a sidekick, doesn't it? No, this is my Pro 2.
See if anybody knows what a sidekick
the Elite
is
2. But if I'm on console for some reason, I absolutely loathe having to use the on-screen keyboard. So I've had this forever, and it's just easy to type in, you know. And I grew up in the era when we had those little keyboards on our cell phones instead of just touchscreen.
T9.
T9 for the win. Let's go.
20 clicks later, yes.
Yeah. What's up?
Yeah.
Link to the past mentions, they have a 3050 with a Ryzen 5 5600G, 32 gigs of DDR4 3200. Sounds reasonable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a reasonable build. Whenever you get into the time where you want to upgrade, I would start with your video card. You're pretty much set on the other stuff. So.
Yeah, Dark Knight mentioned that upgrading to the 5700X3D would give you 13% more performance. The 5800X3D gives you 21%. You don't have to upgrade the motherboard, but the PSU might not be enough. I'd say, Paul?
Yeah, I mean, those percentages will just depend on what games you're playing, obviously, but yeah. Oh, yeah, let's get this thing out.
I'm basing that.
Two?
Most Strix are double because
I think it is.
they're big baller and they're like, we're going to put 2 onto a huge card.
Get this awesome video card out. I want to see this thing.
You've been using your Astros C40 for gameplay? Yo, I have one of those. Yep, they sent to me. It was really cool. We're about to open this box real fast. I just want to cover you wish you had a 3080? Listen, so do I. Nady mentions, I got an NV2 PCIe 4 SSD on a PCIe 3 motherboard. So is there really any speed difference?
So there is a speed difference. Now, since your motherboard is Gen 3 and your M.2 is Gen 4, it's going to function at those Gen 3 speeds. For me, those are 3 and 4. They're very, very fast regardless. So you probably wouldn't notice that big of a difference unless you were like transferring files a lot and doing that. Both of those are extremely fast.
Jesse Gambino down the Facebook side says, I play GTA with keyboard. It was hard at first, but I'm a master now. There you go.
All right.
There
Question
you
about
go.
GTA. Do you play it first person mode? Because that was kind of a pretty lame achievement. Only play for 15 hours in first person mode to get an achievement. And that's the only first person achievement they have in the game.
I don't need to achieve
15 hours? You know how long it took me to get 15 hours? Exactly 15 hours.
All right, this is what we've been waiting to see. This is a gorgeous thing, and I don't believe we've had one of these yet. This is the Asus ROG Strix GeForce RTX 4080 Super in white. Now, I have a 3090 OC in white. This 40 series are incredible. The way that they light up, they're just fantastic.
Let's see. I want to see. Oh, it does.
Oh.
Does it? Does it have it?
It does.
Yes!
Prepare yourselves.
You want to pull it out?
Oh, yeah.
DJ.
I'm keeping it. This is my
God damn
payment.
it.
DJ, calm down. Whoa!
Wonder Twin Powers activate.
Oh, yeah. Got our Super Bowl rings right here.
Velcro straps.
Mm-hmm. That could be a hand model.
Yeah. Look at that. These things are rad. I absolutely love it. It sits right here unless I need to go out for some sort of a fancy event and I just wear it. I know that sounds cheeseball, but you know, I'm also kind of cheesy.
Just need to buy 10 cards, one for each finger, and then you can start putting them on your toes.
ROG knuckles, please.
Imagine a ROG toe ring.
I just want 10 of them soldered together for 5. Yeah. Have some brass knuckles that are ROG rings.
It's a big world. So, Josh, so how do you get those guys? Those come in the 30 or in the 4080, 4090
white.
The
whites.
Yeah, I believe they're in every one of the white versions, but
yes, it is.
So I got mine from the 3090 OC. So, gorgeous ring. Sits right up here next to my margarita duck.
Yeah.
Okay, gosh, this is gorgeous. So, first things first, let's talk a little bit about this graphics card. It's a beast. That's a big, big baby.
It is. Oh man, the tab. So I'm going to go ahead and get this plastic off, but yeah, I love the look of this card. Probably the best looking 4080 out there, in my opinion, 4080 Super.
Oh yeah.
Go ahead and get this plastic off and show you guys a little bit more.
USB
It's always
joystick.
hard
This is
getting
in
it
front of me.
started.
Yeah. Yep. Over on the red side, hello. What? So Link to the Past asks, what GPU would you all recommend?
It depends on what you're playing and what your budget is, but if you're just starting out, you know, something in like the 4060 Ti range is usually where I start, and then, you know, if you want some little higher end, just going up from there. But it's all about what are you going to be playing? Also, what resolution are you going to be playing at, whether that's 1080, 2K, 4K, or whatever, and then obviously your budget.
And this is a great question. I'm glad Fides asked this. How heavy is it? Are we talking wrist curl workout level?
Yes,
And
definitely wrist curl workout level.
Now, we talk about this often, but for those people who've never actually come across this, as the cards get bigger, there becomes a concern. And that concern is what kind of weight is being put on your motherboard at your PCIe slot. How does that work, Paul?
Yeah, so as these cards have gotten bigger and heavier, we started to use anti-sag brackets, which is what Zach's got in his hand right there. And what that does is support the video card on the opposite side of where it mounts. Because with these cards being bigger and heavier, they can cause damage to the PCIe slot on your motherboard or damage to the card itself. So definitely once you get a heavier card, you want to get one of those anti-sag brackets in. There's a whole bunch of different ones you can get, but the ones that we like to use are the kind that mount directly to the case. So this NV5 comes with that one already here, so you don't need to buy one if you get this case. But there are other options you can find that mount to the chassis.
Yeah, we need more white GPU cards. I'll be honest, it's for making an all white build. So you can't really see it because of my green screen, but the inside of my whole build is white. I've got the blue lights with little sparklies on them. But yeah, I figure if I'm going to upgrade, I'm going to, once the 5090, the white 5090 OC comes out from Asus ROG, I'm assuming that they will have one. I'm hoping they will have one. They've had one for the last several generations. That I can do that.
Nice.
Wow. Zach, show off.
Zach's got the special tools.
That's hilarious.
I did, yep. I think so. Well, I got the one around this, but no, I didn't get that one.
And yeah, Josh,
I was testing you to see if you were going to get it.
Love that case. It comes with a hidden support for the GPU. Yeah, absolutely does. And then there's also some secondary, because there's several different types of anti-sag devices.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Wild West with the anti-sag device. There's a million different options out there. The main thing that I would look out for when buying one is you want one that mounts to the chassis, because that's what's going to be the most secure.
Fides asks, okay, I have an idea for how to get CLX involved with the education system. Who do I have to email for that? That is an excellent question.
Yeah, so probably our marketing team would probably be a good way to start. So it should be just, you can find it on our website, but I believe it's just marketing@clxgaming.com.
There we go. Beware that some games like COD favor AMD video cards. On average, AMD performance better than NVIDIA on certain games. Yeah, certain games. Yeah, and of course, it's all part of that dev factor. So one thing I will say I love about this, the power supply that we've got, is that these natively come with that threaded sheath over the top of the power. And we've discovered something super, well, I think people who were here earlier saw it. So it's spring loaded.
Yes.
So what does that mean?
Well, I'm looking like down, like you can look down in there. You can see like in this first little groove up here, there's a little latch that like catches it too. Like I can catch it up on our big screen. Like there's a little dollop of silver there. Oh. We're gonna see this. I got a magnifier on here now. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, you see it. So look in there.
Uh huh. Oh.
Something disappears. Something disappears while a card is sitting in there, and then a little lever. Man, I'm excited for this.
Okay,
how does it?
That is cool.
I know. I'm excited to see once you punch it in, can you see how it easy it is to take it right back out?
Oh yeah, we're gonna see what happens.
Awesome. We're gonna play around with this thing forever. Do you guys think that BTF motherboard would take over the motherboard market in the future?
Maybe. It's a great design and a great idea, but
is Blu-ray taking over?
Yeah, right. The issue with it taking over is that all the cases have to change to accommodate for it. That's the biggest thing. Now, maybe they'll do some mods to the board where you can, like an extension or something like that you can plug into it, run out the back of the case. But that's probably like the number one thing prohibiting it from taking over. But who knows? I love the idea of it. It's super clean. So if it gets popular enough, I'm sure some case manufacturers will, start designing more and more cases to go with it.
So just for people who don't know what that, let's see how it comes out.
So you just kind of like
simple?
rock it. You just
That's
rock
pretty
it.
nice.
Mm-hmm.
That makes life so much easier. Josh asked a great question on TikTok. Do you guys? Oh no, I have a question about Josh's question. What is BTF?
So BTF stands for back to front. So what they're talking about there is the power connectors on the motherboard are actually on the back side. And what that does is just provide a really clean look. You don't see any cables going into the motherboard. But obviously, if your cables are on the back, you've got to have holes for those cables to plug into. So if you look up, BTF motherboards, you'll see some different options out there if anybody wants to, see what it looks like.
And I grabbed the wrong two.
Agreed. Green Banana Brain, hello. It appears it's magic. Yes, they are. Are there any giveaways happening soon? Stay tuned and stay tuned to our shows and our socials at CLX Gaming. You'll find out. Let's see. Over on the red side, hopefully the 50 series power connectors will be on the side of the GPU and not on top as usual.
Yeah, there are some cards now that do have the power connectors on the side, which can be nice, especially if you've got a smaller case. Can give you a little bit more room to plug stuff in without your cables brushing up against the side panel.
White cases look dope for about 6 months. Why do you think they look dope for only about 6 months? I have a question.
Because they is dirty.
Unless you have a positive pressure system.
I meant the user.
Oh. Wow.
Got him.
So one of the things that we do talk about is fan alignment. So with like for example with mine, I have 13 fans on this. There's 6 on my radiator. So there's 6 in plus the 3 in from the bottom and then 4 exhausting out the top and the back. So that's huge positive pressure. Let's talk about why that's an important element that you want to consider when you're building your case out.
Sure. So when you're building your PC and you're getting all your fans installed, the optimal way to set up your fans is in a positive pressure environment, which means you have more intake fans than you do exhaust. So the reason for that is if you have more intake fans than exhaust, all the air that's coming in is going to go through the proper channels and ventilation that your case has been designed for. It's not the end of the world if you have it set up in the opposite way, but that creates a negative pressure inside your system, which will allow dust and pet hair and all the stuff you don't want to get sucked in through the little cracks and crevices.
Bro is thrown under the bus. Let's see. Yeah, sorry. Now, I just came across one. I'm just telling the truth over there on the TikTok side. It says, is a 4070 and a Ryzen 5 7800X a good pair?
Yeah, that's a good pair. You won't be like bottlenecking in your video card or CPU that way. Yeah, that's a good pairing.
Nice.
Look at that clean tile.
Yeah, all of the weight is right here.
Yeah. It is, Rad. I agree. How big is the impact from a push-pull configuration on an AIO from a regular setup?
So it will depend on what CPU you have, but we've seen anywhere between 5 and 10 degrees Celsius of an increase going with push-pull. You might get a little bit more, you might get a little bit less depending on your CPU, but like I said, it is noticeable.
Upgrade your thermal paste.
Yeah, I was kind of freaking out because I was playing. What was I playing? I was playing God of War. I was playing the new God of War, and I'd never seen my processor. Now, granted, I play like Rainbow Six Siege and tons of other really intensive games. Never have I seen my temperature go above like 60, maybe. And that game pushed it up to 72, and I just was like, oh, I've never seen it do this. Oh my God, what's wrong? And everybody else said, just stop panicking. Now, take a look at this back door. This is a really cool element of this. Look at that. And it hides that fan controller, which is awesome. Here we go. And while they get the glass prepped and ready, I'm going to take you through an adventure. And this is an adventure of how you can get one of our ridiculously awesome PCs sent right to your home. Let's head over to the website. It is CLXgaming.com. We have made it so simple and easy to get the PC of your dreams, and you get to customize every little element of it. You want a big case? You want a small case? You want a medium-sized case? We've got literally all of them. We carry AMD, Intel, Radeon, NVIDIA, and it's all up to you. If you want, depending on what size processor you have, can depend on what's kind of cooling you want. We have open loop, closed loop. We could do both. You want to upgrade your thermal paste? We got you. And if you want to get your gear overclocked, we can do that too. Now notice that green button above me turned yellow, and that's because in the event that you actually select two things that don't go together, like for example, we've got a graphics card that's huge and the power supply isn't quite there, so it's going to say, hold on. Now it's going to say either you can keep this power supply, but you got to use one of these graphics cards, or if you really want this graphics card, you're gonna have to choose one of these power supplies. Once you solve the problem, it goes back to green and you can continue on your trip through our service, which is fantastic. Everything from braided cables to spare drives, we've got it. Again, CPU, GPU overclocking, you can choose one or both, which we love. We've got streaming equipment. We've got capture cards. We've got Beacon mix creates. We've got Beacon mics. They're fantastic. And over on our peripherals page, you can get everything from t-shirts, windbreakers. You can also get pretty much, it's a one-stop shopping center. So figure this, you can get keyboards, mice, controllers, headsets, speakers, monitors, you name it, we even have routers and chairs, people. So it's perfect. Now, if that does seem a little bit complex, a little bit like, it's a little too much for me to worry about, we have what's called the RTS. That's our ready-to-ship systems down there. These are already pre-built and tested, and they're sitting right there waiting for a new home, and who knows, that home might be yours. You can select between entry level all the way up to ultra high performance, and it also gives you a chance to take a look at some of the components inside so that you can figure out, all right, this is what I might be wanting to look for as I build my own. It's a really good plan of action there. So there we are. It's for all of your future PC gaming needs. Head on over to clxgaming.com and see how we can set you up for tomorrow. Now, Paul, I did mention something, and that was that they're tested. Oh my gosh, that's Strix. Okay, Strix light up on the back is fantastic. So what do I mean when I say they've been tested?
So what you're talking about there is our testing process for all of our PCs. So any PC, whether you are an RTS or you do a custom build on our website, they all get built the same way and go through the same testing process. So once they're built and powered on, they go to our testing department. The first thing we do there is get into the BIOS of the machine. We'll make sure our RAM speed's set correctly, all of your storage drives are showing up, mess around with some other settings if we need to. If you opt for overclocking, that's where we would set that. And then once all that's been set, we load the system, so your operating system. If you picked any games on our website, that's where we would load those as well. If you don't pick any games, you just get a fresh install of your operating system. We don't put any bloatware on these machines. You're not going to get any extra antivirus softwares or any of that crap that you don't want. You just get a fresh install of Windows. And then once that's done, we put the system through a 12-hour burn-in or a stress test to make sure everything's stable. That way, it's all good when it gets to you.
Noob Network mentioned over on the red side that they just picked up a 4070 Ti, which is fantastic. I'm so glad that you're excited about that. And the one last thing that I do want Paul to kind of point out, just because I feel it's answered in chat, but saying it's probably better. One of the Zion DeLion mentions that one of the things that always confused me with motherboard and processor is the pins. How can I choose which one works best versus just praying they work together?
Okay, so what you want to look at there is called your socket type. So every motherboard and processor is going to have a socket type. So that's what you want to match up first. So whatever your motherboard is, if it's this one, it's the new 1851, you want to make sure you get an 1851 CPU socket. That's where you can, you know, they are not backwards compatible. They do not go into each other. So yeah, the socket type is what you want to make sure matches your motherboard and CPU.
Absolutely. All right. So first of all, I want to say thank you to everybody for all of your questions today. It's been a really good conversation. Let's see what this looks like, because this is going to be what we're testing. Let's check it out. Oh, that is so bright. I love it. Look at that. Now, question, is that Strix panel, you know, is it just that, or is it an actual like screen?
I'm not sure if it's addressable or not. We'll have to see. I believe it's just that.
Yeah, just Strix in their eye logo.
Still looks awesome. Looks fantastic. I love it. Okay, so one more time, let's go over what we put into this beautiful machine. This is a HORUS NV5 mid-tower in white with an Intel Core Ultra 9 285K processor. We've got an Asus ROG Strix Z890 motherboard with 32 gigs of DDR5 6000 RAM, brought to you by AData. And we've also got that ROG Strix GeForce RTX 4080 Super in white. The operating system is on a 2 terabyte AData Legend, and that is an M.2. We've got our CPU cooled by a CLX Quench 360 ARGB AIO, and along with 8 GameDS fans that are all being powered by an 850 watt MSI Mag A850GL PCI S8A Plus Gold PSU. There we go. Nice. Nice. So this is going to go on to testing. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it is.
Now, it is so bright.
That's white.
I love it. That's that's ridiculous. I dig it. Okay, so normally this show happens in 2 stages, but today we're not going to do that. Today we're just going to jump right on over to me. I'm going to be playing some Black Ops 6 Zombies with Scotty Wins. And yeah, I'm loving that game. It's wild. So this show happens every Tuesday and Thursday, starting at 11 a.m. Pacific. That's 2 Eastern, and we jump right in here, which is fantastic. If you'd like to know more about what's going on and keep up for the latest and greatest information for what we're doing, check it out. Our socials are YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and Threads at CLX Gaming. If you want to jump into our Discord, you can do so as well. Jump in with a whole bunch of like-minded PC enthusiasts and gamers. That is discord.gg/CLX Gaming. And yeah, there you go. So with that being said, on behalf of Kyle and Jason in production, Paul and Zach, I'm DJ Blue PDX. Stick around. We'll see you in just a few. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on Thursday.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.